beta 2 has been available. So you can see how this feature is already starting to have an impact in protecting users. Now, this isn't going to be able to stop all phishing, obviously, because if we knew about all of the phishing websites, well, we would have just, the cops would have arrested them all already. So there are going to be sites that haven't been reported and haven't been confirmed yet. And to help deal with those sites, Internet Explorer also includes heuristics that are able to detect some common patterns in phishing sites. And here, when I went to this site, the web service sent back a response saying, I don't know if this is a good site or a bad site. But IE looking at this on the client is able to detect things like, hey, it's collecting personal information, it's not using HTTPS, and it has a potentially misleading domain name. So those are some heuristics that IE may have used in this case to decide, hey, this is a suspicious website. We're still able to warn the user and help them make a better decision about sharing their information online. And maybe more exciting for the folks in this audience, if you get to one of these sites and you see this suspicious flag, you can report that this is a phishing website, and then that's going to go into a data pipeline where human graders are going to look at the site and try to publish that as a known phishing site. So the next time a novice end user goes to the site, they're going to be protected. So right about this time in my presentation, usually there are 7 hands shooting up saying, oh my god, how does this work? What the heck's going on? So despite your lack of enthusiasm for questions and raising your hands, we're going to go, oh, okay, this is a little bit out of order. We didn't show the anti-spyware integration. Well, too bad. So we did look at the phishing filter, and we're going to look at high assurance SSL in a second. And we're not going to look at card space, and we're not going to look at parental controls, but they're very cool. So back to the phishing filter. Now, IE is, like I said, going to call a web service to check on a site to see if it's a phishing site or not. But it's not going to do that for every site because, MySpace.com and Amazon.com, those are known sites that, are operating. They're fine. They're not conducting phishing scams as far as I know. So we've got a known list of good URLs in that's cached locally. On maybe 5% of navigations, an end user is going to go to a site that known list of good URLs doesn't know about yet. And in that case, if the site is trying to collect information, that's when the phishing filter is going to go and call the web service. Obviously, if we're checking a domain name against a web service, we have to be protecting the user's privacy. So there's a couple things that we're doing to protect the user's privacy. First of all, we're sending this request over HTTPS, so it's encrypted, so a third party can't intercept the request and determine what website the end user was visiting. Second, as we send the request, we try to strip out personal identifiable information. For example, anything after the query string on a domain name, we try to remove that as well. And right away, we should all start thinking, oh, well, maybe the phishing guys will try to use that as an attack. And then finally, we engineered the web service so that if if you check on a particular URL and you send your request, it's completely anonymous. We don't record the IP addresses of the clients that come and try to use the phishing filter service. And we actually had a third party come in and do an audit of that process to make sure that it does, in fact, not record the IP addresses of the end users who come and use the service. So that's an illustration of how the phishing filter is trying to help protect the end user's privacy. So now, another question that folks have is, well, what if my site turns out with that crazy yellow address bar and the big warning flag drop down in front of it? I want to protect my site from having that happen. And what happens if I go and I report a website, or a bad guy reports my site as a phishing site, trying to put me out of business? So in order to help protect against kind of bad data getting into the web service, end users can report phishing sites, but they don't automatically get populated to the web service. We have a set of human graders who are going to look at the reports, and we're going to use heuristics to analyze and consolidate those reports so that we have the graders looking at the most important ones first. But if a legitimate business reports that they've been misidentified as a phishing site, then in that case what we're going to do is allow the website owner to kind of jump the line and immediately get attention from these graders so they can correct any error that exists on the web service. Then they populate their information to the web service, and obviously we can't do this on our own, and we use some important third parties to help fill out that data as well. So this explains kind of how we're going to help protect users from these known phishing sites and maybe some suspicious phishing sites. But that's going to happen for a very small set of users who end up on one of these sites. And really today, there's a bigger problem that 50% of internet users don't feel confident doing business online. And really, that's a problem for everyone, not just the folks who've had a phishing incident. So one of the things that we've done in Internet Explorer is we've worked with the other browsers and the certificate authorities on a new standard for SSL called High Assurance SSL. So here, very quickly you can see that this green address bar is intended to give the user more confidence about the site that they're visiting. What's going on here is this isn't just a regular SSL certificate. You and I could go get a regular SSL certificate, from a hosting provider like GoDaddy.com. You guys could have everybody have a site up and running with a regular SSL certificate by the end of my talk today. And it might not have any particular information about who you are. So an end user can't really feel too confident about who they're doing business with when they get, when they go to a site with a regular SSL certificate. Well, High Assurance SSL aims to correct that by setting a higher standard for these certificate authorities like VeriSign and GeoTrust and Komodo to go out and actually make contact with the people they're selling certificates to and identify that, hey, this is a real business. It's really allowed to do business in the jurisdiction that it's registered in. And by virtue of that, then VeriSign or GeoTrust or Komodo or GoDaddy is able to go ahead and say more and able to say, hey, we believe you have more reason to have confidence in the identity of this website. So a lot of folks say, well, how is this different from what the original SSL standard was supposed to be? Because really, I think a lot of people still hope and believe that an SSL certificate is kind of that level of confidence. One of the things that makes it different, along with this kind of user experience, is that at the beginning you would have seen the name of the certificate authority in the address bar of IE. So that means that the certificate authority now has their brand in the user's vision, in the user's way. And that's something that they're going to want to go ahead and elevate and protect. So now they have a great stake in the game in terms of ensuring the sanctity of these certificates. And based on that and the end user having this kind of premium experience, you can see now it's easy for an end user to make a decision about a site where they actually do want to do business in a site that they trust. There are a couple of interesting other things we've done in this area of helping the user make better decisions online. Pop-up windows before IE7, could have an address bar, maybe not. They could have a JPEG at the top of the window that looked like an address bar. Well, we know that JPEG at the top of the window could be used to fool a user into thinking that they were at a site they weren't at. So what we've done with IE7 is, every pop-up window is going to have this kind of permanent address bar added to it, and that's intended to help the end user be more confident about the site that they're visiting. So here you can imagine if this entire inner part of the page was some other website, some other fake JPEG of another website, the user would still have this top outer address bar that they could use to help make a decision. And there's a ton of really interesting research going on in this area with the W3C and folks like Colin Jackson from Stanford, who are looking at and identifying ways that browsers can get better in terms of flagging end users about the true identity of the site they're dealing with. A feature that we're not going to talk about today, unfortunately, called CardSpace, is a project that we're working on at Microsoft, but it's also something we're working on with the open source community. And the CardSpace experience is really cool. I wish I could show it to you. What it does is it takes the user, if I go to a website and I want to type in my credentials today, if I was using CardSpace, I could go to a website and go to a secure experience that takes over my whole screen and helps me understand that I'm about to kind of give my credentials to a particular website. And it does so in a way that's really almost impossible to fake. So that's a really exciting experience. And if you have any interest in this idea of users kind of screwing up online and how we're going to try and make that safer, the card space initiative is something that's really exciting, and I hope you'll come learn more about that. So now I'm going to take this back to that security development lifecycle, because I've shown you the protect the system, and I've shown you some ways that we're trying to protect the user. Security development lifecycle isn't over until IE7 ships. So now we're in kind of the final throes of shipping, and that means that we're looking for security bugs, and all of the testers inside of Microsoft have become security testers, in effect. We're still using aggressive buzz testing to try to root out vulnerabilities, and we're still engaging pen testers to help find vulnerabilities before we ship. So it's on rails, and one of the things that I can say is that watching this process at the end with IE7 is incredibly different from the process that I watched when I was a young program manager at Microsoft trying to get that fixed in for the media bar. And people saying, why is that a security problem? This is a lot different. This is a different company. So I think that the security development lifecycle is helping make Internet Explorer a safer product through the protections we've added to the system. The protections we're adding to help protect the user obviously make an important difference for folks as they're on the internet today. We fully acknowledge that security is never done, that there is an ongoing, I want to say, feedback and customer connection loop that we have to make with end users and with the security community in order to continue to identify new attack vectors and to proactively address them. I want to thank you for taking the time at the end of a day, at the end of a conference, when I was competing against a swimming pool and warm weather, for coming to listen to me about the things that we've done at IE. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions either out loud or up here. Go ahead. The question was, is the phishing database software open to third-party providers? And right now, what we're trying to do is figure out how to do this and make it work for IE. IE is going to have a ton of clients, and we're focusing right now on making it work for IE. We're not sure how we're going to proceed with that in the future. So, but the short answer is right now this is for IE specifically, and in the future you can imagine that there's an opportunity to partner with third parties who want to provide those type of protections. Anybody else? Go ahead. So the question was, if I'm submitting phishing websites and I'm completely anonymous as I do that, then how can Microsoft not get kind of fooled by somebody who's continually reporting a fake website, basically? Is that sure? Yep. So there's a very important subtlety in that anonymity